It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome, everybody, on this now fall Sunday morning. Appreciate you tuning in. Tuning in. I guess I still have free speech. Here I thought that Trump was clamping down on all media, especially when you listen to late night. I guess they're comedians. Are they still called comedians? Or are they Democratic spokespeople? Democratic is probably the wrong word to use there. Yeah, the Democrat Party spokespeople that are Jimmy Kimmel, that are Stephen Colbert, that are Seth Meyers, all doing the same show every night. Trump's really, really bad, and we're really, really morally right. Here's cut 7, guys, and this is going to be Jimmy Kimmel's show until his contract runs out, and hopefully, and I predict, will happen as far as his contract not being renewed. Because when you lose tens of millions of dollars a year and you have a toxic brand for your network, you tend not to get renewed. Hopefully that will be the case if Disney has any business sense. But here's cut 7 with Jimmy Kimmel, again, getting up on his pious perch, talking about censorship while he's on the air, saying whatever he wants. Cut 7, go.
Well, one thing I did learn from Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and Howard Stern is that a government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American. That's anti-American. And I am so glad we have some solidarity on that from the right and the left and from those in the middle.
Oh, God. Again, how is Jimmy able to make that opinion on the air if the government is clamping down on him? How is he back on the air after being off the air for 4 days? He's like the Rosa Parks of late night, this guy. At least that's how he thinks he is. As far as, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, yeah, you're being censored, right, of course. You got to be kidding me, man. You're on the air. And if you were taken off by Disney, I believe it was Jimmy Kimmel back in 2018 after Roseanne Barr was fired, who said, you could say whatever you want, you just don't have to have a network pay you to do it. That's what he said when Roseanne Barr was taken off the air by Disney, by ABC, because she wrote a tweet they didn't like, and he celebrated it. He celebrated Donald Trump being pulled off of Twitter and Facebook and all social media a couple of years ago, saying that, he's a threat to democracy, and boy, his words really have impact, and he shouldn't be able to have a platform. And then when his platform's taken away for 3 days after, again, the affiliates, Sinclair and Nexstar, they're the ones who took him off their stations and continue to. Because this prick, I'm sorry, the only word to use here, pious prick, let me use 2 words, is the one who would not apologize to Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, to his family, for saying that the shooter was full-on MAGA, and the MAGA gang was trying to portray him as anything but. He said that. No one forced him to say that. He said it, and to this day, after 3 shows this week, getting back in the air, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, has yet to apologize. All he did was the weasel way, which is, well, if anybody was offended by what I said. No, that is not how it works. You say, I am sorry. It was inappropriate just days after a 31-year-old dad of 2 and a husband and the only son of a mom and dad was executed. I was wrong to say that. I was wrong in terms of labeling the shooter MAGA when he was the exact opposite. A trans, furry, loving leftist. That's exactly who he was. He wrote it on the bullets, literally. And we got to listen to Jimmy Kimmel now make himself more the victim than Charlie Kirk himself? I'm sorry. I loathe the fact that he is exploiting this now just to get some cheap ratings before his contract runs out. And left-wing media, Brian Stelter of CNN, the guy who tried to get Fox News taken off the air a couple of years ago. Didn't go after one person, went after the whole network, saying that we're spewing disinformation, misinformation, and hate speech. So he called cable operators like Comcast, Optimum, like Verizon, Fios, saying, how can you allow them to still be on the air? That's censorship right there. And by the way, misinformation, hate speech. Have you watched your own network on CNN, which has more employees than viewers at this point? I'm sorry. I'm so done with this guy. I almost don't want to talk about him because we're giving him exposure, and therefore that may lead to a couple of people tuning in to hate watch. But this is late night now. Remember what Johnny Carson said. It is a dangerous thing when you start thinking that you have such an important platform that you have to share your political opinions all the time, because some people may be swayed by that. He said that's not your role as an entertainer. And boy, was he right. And well, oh, by the way, he had 15 times the audience that Kimmel has. There's a reason for that, because he didn't piss off half the country. All right, I'm done with my rant. This is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Sunday morning show. We have some great guests coming up. Meghan McCain joins us after the break, and then Jonathan Gilliam, who is going to talk about this horrible shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas earlier this week, among other topics. Please do stick around.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Sorry, I'm doing like a yum on the air. My wife makes the best eggs, and I try to do the same thing, and they're horrible. Like, it's eggs. It shouldn't be a hard thing. She's adding something. I don't know what it is. We're going to bring in Meghan McCain right now, has the popular Meghan McCain podcast, of course, former Fox News colleague of mine. Meghan, who's the better cook in your household? Is it Ben Dominique, who sounds like a chef, or yourself?
It's Ben. It's so funny you say that about eggs, because he was out of town for work this week, and I made eggs for the girls, and they hated it. They were like, "We want Daddy's eggs." So I feel this pain for you. He's a fantastic cook. I actually always think he should have been a chef. So, he's a much better cook than I am.
So this is a thing where half the marriage can only do eggs, and the other half just can't. My kids say the same thing. They're like, "We want mommy's eggs." So I don't. Wow. All right. I got to figure this out. It's crazy. How are your kids, by the way? I should ask. Are you going to have a third? Remember, I pressured you to have kids for years and get married for years, and you resisted me. Now I'm like the annoying aunt who wants like 9 kids. So kid number 3 on the way. Let's break some news here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like 7 months pregnant, so it's not a secret. I look really pregnant. I'm really fat right now. So yeah, it's not a secret, but yeah, you really should take credit for my marriage and having kids, because you did tell me early on when I was just dating Ben that we should get married. And I remember being like, I think this guy's kind of crazy. Like, what? I mean, we just started dating, but yeah, it was like a weird time when Trump was first getting nominated, and we were all like in the convention and whatever, and it's a great time. But yeah, 3 kids. You have 2. Why did you guys not have 3?
I regret that, and we're hypocrites, Meghan, because I'm the youngest of 3. My wife is the youngest of 3. We absolutely should have had at least 3. Her sister has 4. I don't know. We had a boy and a girl, and it just seemed like, all right, we're good. But I'm convinced by super sperm, and she's Irish. She borrows my toothbrush and gets pregnant. It's a very easy thing to do. I should have done that. Like, you're Irish as well. So that's that. Do we know the gender? Do we want to share that, or we're going to keep that off the record, as they say?
It's a boy.
Oh, good for you.
No, it's a boy.
Do you have a name picked out?
I know. I don't know when we don't agree on any names. Like, there's not one name that we both like. And having kids is amazing. And I think it's wonderful, and I love it. But I also I know there's some people that don't want kids, and that's fine too. So I'm always just everybody live your life the way you want to. But yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm 40. So being 40 and being able to get pregnant, they say your fertility gets weaker and all these things, and so we just feel really lucky and blessed, obviously.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that again. Actually, let's talk about that. I'm going to make this more podcasty than anything else, like having a conversation, just going in a completely different direction than I wanted to. But in 1965, I wrote a column about this recently for the Washington Examiner. The average household, a man, woman, family, they would have 3 kids on average. We're now down to about 1. What's with the younger generation resisting having kids and getting married in general? Because that seems to be more and more of a trend. Are they actually listening to AOC, where she says the world's going to end by 2031, so why bring a kid into a world that's going to end anyway because of climate change? I mean, is that having an impact? Or is it just social media has kept people more isolated, perhaps, and therefore they don't get out as much, therefore don't meet people, therefore don't get married, don't have kids? I don't know.
Yeah, and the data actually shows that there's a real split politically, depending on which party you identify with. So I'm sure you're shocked by that. Like Republicans tend to have more children and get married younger. And I just think it's, more emphasis on family, more emphasis on community, faith, whatever. And I don't know. I just know it's horrifying and interesting. I think everyone should have children if they can, because it's so fun. I wish someone had told me how fun it is. I was so fearmonger before I had kids. I remember like this woman I work with was like, "You're never going to sleep again. You're never going to go out to dinner again. You're never whatever again." It's like all garbage. It's for every bad thing, there's like 100,000 wonderful fun things. So I'm very pro having kids, clearly.
You're so right about that. I was told the same thing. You'll never sleep again. I've never slept more in my life. I mean, because when the kids are first born, they sleep like 18 hours a day if they're not colicky, right? And then from there, all the fun things like you talk about, especially when you have young girls and they go through the princess stage, and it's just all these things and watching all these movies that you haven't watched for years. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark with my kid last night, Indiana Jones, and that movie came out almost, I hate to say this, 45 years ago, and you become a kid again when you go through these things with them all over again, or E.T. or that sort of thing. Meghan, let me just touch upon what you just mentioned. NBC News had a poll out 2 weeks ago, and if you voted for Kamala Harris, your number one priority, if you're female, having a job or career. Number 2, having enough money to do the things you want. Number 3, having emotional stability. 4, using your talents and resources to help others. Blah 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 blah. All the way down. By the time you get to being married, that's the 11th highest priority. Having children is the 12th highest priority, right? I mean, this is just incredible. Now, if you're male and you voted for Trump, having children is the number 1 priority, and being married is number 3. That's just incredible to me. Why? How does this get dictated politically? We talked about the AOC part, but that's just a huge divide. I can't understand it.
I just think that, again, if you're traditionally conservative, there's just a lot more emphasis on community, family, faith, and like your individual role in, helping the country and what you can do, like I just said, like within your family and your community to make the world a better place. And I think for Democrats, it's much more, they're like communists. It's like much more this like broad, amoeba of an identity. And I also think that, I think that a lot of women understand that, if you can't have kids, it's important. I know people who have had very serious fertility issues who would love to be parents who can't. And, I don't think we should group those people in with or the AOC people that we're talking about. She's running for president, allegedly. At least that's what Axios is reporting, that she's thinking about it. Yeah. And she's engaged, but she's unmarried and she doesn't have kids. And there's actually, don't shoot the messenger here, but there's like actual polling and data that the American public is uncomfortable having someone become president who's single or at least unmarried. So I'm interested how that plays out for her if she runs for president, if Democrats are just like, they're being married and having kids, there's just no value in it whatsoever. But there are independents and certainly conservatives in the country that are going to have questions about it. And again, make whatever like opinion you want on that. I'm just telling you what data says.
And we're talking to Meghan McCain, the Meghan McCain podcast. You can get that wherever you listen to podcasts. I've been on it. I listen to it. It is beyond awesome. Citizen McCain is the official title, of course. Let's get to AOC real quick. As far as if she runs, I think she has a puncher's chance of being the nominee, right? I think it comes down to like her and Newsom. But does she have a chance? Because I saw Kamala Harris, run to the middle. She tried to portray herself as a centrist so she could win votes in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona and so on. But I don't see AOC doing that. I think she like really owns who she is as far as, yes, let's spend trillions on fighting climate change. Yes, let's allow anybody who's illegal into this country. Yes, let's defund the police. She doesn't run for those positions. If she doesn't, I think she loses, Meghan, 51 states, which is mathematically impossible. But if she runs as a nominee, you could tell me all about like energy and her youth and all that, but I think she loses in a landslide like we haven't seen since Mondale.
I just don't understand why Democrats don't care about winning. And it's like they just care more about appeasing their radical base than winning elections. And it's fascinating because they're, again, speaking of cultural differences, like Republicans really get in line. Like when we choose a nominee, it's like, okay, that's the person. And even if we've had ideological differences and it's not the person I wanted, this is still so much better than the left. And Democrats like opt out, or they like vote for Jill Stein, or they like, won't support their candidate, or they'll just choose like a garbage candidate that clearly is terrible, but gaslight themselves into thinking they're good. AOC has never passed a bill in Congress. All she does is go on social media and go to the Met Ball and apparently like commit ethics complaints about going to the Met Ball. And she just is a social media influencer. Like she's a glorified social media influencer. And I I don't put it past them that they would nominate her, like, because I just think, not all Democrats, but I think the Democrats in power are apocalyptically stupid. And again, like, go ahead and scream free Palestine and globalize the Intifada and talk about how you hate police officers and you wanted to fund them and crime is great. Like, go ahead, run on all that. I agree with you. And then I'm going to have a very interesting election night, calling you and having you on my show or you on me on your show, like joking about how absolutely ridiculous and insane they are. But I agree with you. But I just don't even. Granted, it's a long time until the next election is, but there is no one on their bench I'm scared of. Like Gavin Newsom, okay, like just listen to Spencer Pratt's social media and what Gavin Newsom did after his house burned down, and then see if you think that's the type of person you think should be in charge of America. And it's just so weird to me that Democrats are so siloed that they think these are like actual credible candidates in the same way that they thought Vice President Harris was a credible candidate. I can remember talking to you where I was like, she can't put 6 sentences together. She's like, there's something wrong with her. She cannot speak in normal tone the way you and I do without laughing like Pennywise in It movies or just being so uncomfortable and making a weird gaffe. And it's like, they just don't live in reality.
I'm using Pennywise on the air on Fox, and I'm stealing it, but I will attribute you, my friend. That's fine. I'm going to give you 15 seconds. You're a pro, all right? So when somebody gets in your IFB, they say 15 seconds. But I'm going to give you a final question because they're telling me you have to wrap. Do you like J.D. Vance as the 2028 Republican nominee as a conservative?
I do, but I also like Marco Rubio and Tulsi Gabbard. And I also like everybody. Like when people ask me about Trump's cabinet, I'm like, there's like 1 or 2 people that I'm not thrilled with. But other than that, I was like, I love everybody. And I think everybody's doing a good job. And I'm very open I'm open to J.D. Vance. I'm open to like anybody. Again, there's such in the, just to juxtapose what we were just talking about, there's such a huge bench for Republicans. Yeah. There's so many people I would be thrilled with, but I do like Vice President Vance. I think he's very strong. And so, yeah, I'm all for, but I like all these people. Like, I'm like, no matter who wins, like, I'm good.
Yeah, I think it's, you get Rubio or Vance, but, you're in great shape. I'll forgive you, Meghan, because we're friends, and I appreciate you joining me. So thanks again. Congratulations on kid number 3. I have a feeling you're going to catch up to Rachel Campos Duffy soon. Ben Donovich, this guy's a machine.
There's no
what can
way.
I say?
There's no respectful to Rachel. I don't know how she does it. She looks like a supermodel.
Seriously?
Like she's made of a different breed. I think this is it. I'm 40.
All right.
So, really.
All right. You don't look a day over 29. We're going to leave it there. They're yelling at me. But Meghan McCain, Citizen McCain, get it on YouTube. Get it anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks so much, Meg. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Have a nice day.
You got it. This is the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Sunday morning show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's bring in Jonathan Gilliam. He is, of course, a former Navy SEAL, former FBI, and just the perfect first person I thought of, actually, when I saw that horrible shooting in Dallas, a leftist gunman targeting ICE agents, just aimed at a van, basically. Didn't realize that there were some illegal migrants in there. Unfortunately, one was killed. Jonathan, thanks for joining. We really appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. Be with you.
Yeah. So what do you think, John? I mean, as far as this happens, it seems like every 3 days I have to hear about a shooter on a roof targeting somebody they don't like for political reasons. Does this thing get reversed? Because this seems like the new normal, and that's what I fear, is that you hear it in the news, and at first it used to shock you, and now it's like, oh, it must be a day ending in Y because somebody decided to take out a gun and just start shooting people for political reasons. It's a scary time to be an American right now.
Well, let's just clarify a little bit of what you just said. It's leftists that are shooting people every day.
Oh, I said that, yeah.
Yeah, and they are, and it is the problem is that this is not just people deciding to pick up a weapon, right? This isn't just people that wake up one day and say, you know what, I hate ICE, or I don't like Charlie Kirk. This is people that have been groomed, and people that have been slowly being indoctrinated to this belief. And even if they were mad a year ago, it's the process of indoctrination. It's everywhere for these people. Once you kind of go there, there's all things around you. It's like something out of a movie where you're like, oh, that validates what I think. That validates what I think. And so they're being told that their anger is correct, and then it's being validated, and then they are being told by people on the TV or in meetings that by any means necessary, shall we make this right, and you are a hero if you do it. So what they've created are narcissistic altruists. So people who believe that they're the hero, but they're not really doing it for heroic reasons or for the greater good. They're doing it for this narcissistic cause that they are bad and you are good. And it's gotten to a point now where not only are the same type of attacks happening, but now the same type of tactics of leaving your message on your shell casings or on your weapon. And that has evolved very quickly. So I think, Joe, what we're seeing is an evolution, just like we saw with the first and second Intifada over in Gaza and Israel. It went from verbiage to action out in the street to violence and then killing. And this is going way faster. And I think it's something that the federal government and local law enforcement has to get on top of, or it's going to get worse.
Oh, you're so right about that. And just to be clear, I mean, you look at these mass shooters, they're always leftists. I mean, Nashville, we saw a shooting there 2 years ago. Steve Scalise, Rand Paul was attacked like on his front lawn, was nearly beaten to death. Obviously, Donald Trump twice, Charlie Kirk, and then what we saw at this ICE facility. I wish I had like a 3-hour podcast right now, like Joe Rogan does, to just like go through all the examples. But that's just like a little taste of what we've seen. And now even the Atlantic, which is like far left, is finally admitting that, yeah, maybe more violence is coming from the left than the right. It's unbelievable. How much does the media play a role here? Because Gavin Newsom is on Stephen Colbert, which, again, this isn't Rickles talking to Johnny Carson anymore, right? This is not David Letterman talking to Regis. This is Newsom on there ranting about ICE and how evil they are. They're the Gestapo. They're Nazis. That's got to have a big role here.
Well, it does, because, look, if it was just Gavin Newsom and he lived in California and he was saying certain things, he's only going to affect the people that are right in front of him. But with media, with news media, and we learned this with the whole Comey debacle and how they handled the fake information, the fake dossier against Trump, and created that whole thing. What happens is leftists use the media to validate their message, whether it's true or not. So they'll use media to validate their the hatred that they're spewing, or the lies of saying, like all the stuff they said about Charlie Kirk being a racist or all these things. They'll validate those things using the media, and they will go on there. And so a guy who may not have a voice, but except in California, is going to go and get a greater voice, and then that is going to be pumped out as fact. And that's what media does. Then when you add social media into it, that is literally, you hear the term throwing fuel on a fire. That is literally where it happens. So you have the media that gives it validation, and then you have the social media content that just blows this up. And so people are inundated by it. And once it gets into their head, they can be convinced to do crazy things, either by saying, go do this, or by saying, they're bad, they're the end of the world, you've got to stop them, somebody's got to stop them. And eventually one of these people are going to go stop them. The big problem I'm having, though, with the right is that they don't push their congressmen, they don't push the senators, they don't pour out on the street and say this is going to stop. They don't do that, and so the left continues to gain ground because this is a war. And then also in law enforcement and just security in general, people are not learning that these vulnerabilities and these avenues of approach are being left open, and these crazies are taking advantage of this. It's just, it's like you open up abortion and make it legal. What's going to happen? The left is going to kill people. They're going to kill children. You leave an avenue of approach on a building open, the left will eventually use it to kill people they don't like. That's what the left does.
And we're talking to Jonathan Gilliam. He is a former Navy SEAL, former FBI agent, former Air Marshal. And your points are just so valid. I noticed that, and when I reached out to you, I realized I don't have Jonathan's number. So I go into Twitter, X as it's called now, and I looked at our last direct message, and it was in 2021. And you told me that you just got banned from Twitter I read that, and I'm sorry I missed it because I didn't respond to you. I feel like a jerk. Like I wasn't blowing you off. I swear I just don't check DMs very often. But because I get a lot of crazy stuff that comes in, believe it or not. When you're on Fox, you tend to be a target, just like Newsmax anywhere else. All that said, so why were you banned exactly? Like what? This is Jack Dorsey's Twitter, by the way, and not obviously Elon Musk. So what happened there?
Man, it is so crazy that you brought this up because the same thing happened on YouTube. I was doing my podcast back then. I was reaching like 1 million people on Facebook alone.
I believe it.
And I criticized David Hogg because him and those other little communists that came out of Parkland High School after that devastating shooting started spewing a leftist communist message using the same verbiage, by the way, by any means necessary, and saying all these different things. And look what David Hogg turned out to be. Well, anyway,
good point.
At the same exact time, all the platforms demonetized and took me down for periods of time because they said I was bullying David Hogg online. So that's the power of the left, by the way, because they owned all those things. And so just recently, as of yesterday, I haven't been on YouTube and added a video since 2024 because, even further than that, 23, because they just wouldn't let me post anything. They said I had too many violations. So I went through and looked at all my videos that they had taken down, and I put in, whatever you call that, where you kind of challenge them on it. And now they're letting them all come back, because everything that they took down was either me saying the reality of January 6th or saying the reality of COVID. And they took all that stuff down. And so now I'm getting that stuff back. And, who knows, maybe I'll grow back on social media. I don't know. Right now, Joe, to be honest with you, when we first started, and you were getting big, media was different. And in 2015, it all changed, and so did social media. It went to the left very fast.
That's the funny part about when we hear from Jimmy Kimmel and we're talking to Jonathan Gilliam, as far as he's talking about how, boy, I'm being censored and, the government's stepping in too much. This is the same guy who cheered Roseanne Barr getting fired from ABC because of some benign tweet, or cheered Donald Trump being banned from social media because, he's there to protect democracy and he is the spokesperson for free speech. And now when he says something profoundly horrible about Charlie Kirk in terms of his shooter and gets taken off for a couple of days because the affiliate said, we don't want to air this guy. So Disney said, oh, well, how can we have a business when the affiliates don't want to air him? It's just incredible. Let me play this clip for you and we'll get your reaction on the other side. I'll let you just take it from there. I won't even ask a question. This is cut number 7, guys. Cut 7, go.
Trump has been suspended from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even Snapchat. But don't worry, Mr. President, there are still plenty of apps you do have access to. You still have Spotify to drown out millions of people cheering as you leave. Google, Apple, and Amazon removed the Parler app from their platforms. Parler is where all the right-wingers gather to post QAnon nonsense and misspell the word parlor. Trumpers are complaining bitterly that they're being silenced. In fact, they won't shut up about being silenced.
I love having Donald Trump off Twitter, not to mention all the other toxic racists and conspiracy theorists that have been booted off.
Oh, damn. A lifetime Twitter ban has got to sting. They took away his precious. Twitter isn't the only social media site that wants nothing to do with our president. He's also been banned or restricted from a bevy of other platforms, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Reddit, and even Twitch. What are you waiting for, Pornhub? It's not a coincidence. It's a consequence. I know it's hard for you to recognize it because you've never faced one before.
Lifetime ban. Trump's basically the Pete Rose of social media. Right now, Trump's phone is stuffed into a pile of rice after being drenched with tears. In addition to Twitter, Trump has been banned or restricted from Apple, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Google, Amazon, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, Twitch, Stripe, Discord, and Shopify. Trump started this year thinking he should be on Mount Rushmore. Now he can't even get on Instagram.
How have our lives changed?
All right. Elias, you can stop it there. I mean, we get the point, right? That is Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and Jimmy Fallon all celebrating Trump losing his First Amendment right, and now they're screaming about, oh, no, you took Jimmy off the air, Kimmel, for 3 days, and this is an attack on democracy. I'll give you the last word.
Well, that was a perfect example of what I was saying is that so media can take their position and make it fact, and then when something doesn't work out for them, listen, let's admit it, the left has a playbook that works. And the right has never figured that playbook out, because if they did, they would see that FCC rules, all these things that they're doing, they can go after these people if they just looked at the reality of what it is, which is subversion, Joe. They are subverting. That's why I think Comey, that should be added into his charges. They are attempting to manipulate or overthrow the government through subversive means. That's what they're doing. And if you look at how uniformed they are in their messaging and in the way they go after and shut down other voices, whether it's by censoring them, canceling them, or shooting them, or killing them before they're born, the left is an organized, a subversive group, and the government has to start looking at that. We only have 3 years under Trump left. We need to take advantage of that as much as possible right now. And I'd love to see Kash Patel, and I'd rather see Pam Bondi gone, but whoever is the AG, I want to see them go after this full force, because it has to be looked at other than, oh, they obstructed justice. They have to look at this on the grand scale as any other national security or terrorist or enemy of the state.
Jonathan, I'd love to talk to you about Comey a little more. They're telling me we have to wrap. Can we have you back, say, in a couple of weeks when the trial begins? Hopefully it starts pretty soon, because I'd love, as a former FBI agent, to get your thoughts on the 8647 guy, Seychelles, James Comey, as far as this indictment's concerned. But unfortunately, we're out of time. So can I hold you to that on the air right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just give you this one thing. As far as Comey goes over the next couple of weeks, just look at him and go look up a psychopath, look up the definition and the characteristics, and you're going to see them in him.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I mean, the Seychelles things, that was just, I mean, he's done a lot of horrible things, but that showed you that this is not a mentally stable person that once ran, the FBI. It's crazy. Jonathan Gilliam, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You got it, Joe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll be back to wrap this puppy up on the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. That was a fast hour, wasn't it? Thanks to Jonathan Gilliam. Thanks to Meghan McCain for joining us on this Sunday morning. I got to go through some of these sound bites because there's some crazy stuff that's been said this week or revealed this week. And the first, of course, starts with a dog who was able to vote somehow in Gavin Newsom's California. You got to get the details here. This is cut number 5. Let's go.
It has just been revealed that a dog successfully voted in a recent election in California. The dog received a ballot in the mail and successfully cast that ballot. And indeed, even after the dog died, continued to receive a ballot in the mail. Now, the owner has now been charged by the Orange County District Attorney's Office for illegally registering her dog to vote, but she probably would have got away with it if she hadn't posted a photo of her dog on social media wearing an I voted sticker.
Yeah, that actually happened. A dog, essentially, even after dying, can vote in California. If you're wondering why it takes several weeks after national elections to get final results, whether it be congressional districts in California, the presidential races, they can call early because it's blue, but otherwise the votes don't get counted for like several weeks until after the election. They're even faster in doing this in like Venezuela than they are in California because so many illegal people are voting. So, all right, I guess take your electoral votes in California, Democrats, but That's just a whole bowl of wrong. And that's just one example, right? Because some idiot posted an I voted sticker after their dog voted when that dog was getting a ballot in the mail. Imagine how many people are not exposing themselves in this regard. So I'll leave it there. Let's go to cut number 8 now, guys, because this is a prime example that genius has its limits while stupidity does not. This is cut number 8. Whoopi Goldberg saying that Donald Trump should have the 25th Amendment applied to him, except she can't remember, the amendment. Cut 8, go.
What is the amendment? The 23rd? 23rd Amendment, when people start to
24th
say...
24th.
It's when they say,
Okay.
maybe we should talk about,
It's
It's actually the 25th Amendment.
I know
we
it
were
was
getting closer with every number. We were getting there. I didn't know what you meant. You meant when you start questioning someone's competence.
Look, I do this with my kid when we do math, and he guesses the answer, and then just keeps working his way up eventually to the answer before I say, yeah, that's right, but you kind of guessed. So that's that. Apparently Donald Trump should have the 25th Amendment applied to him. The View says that when they can't remember what the 25th Amendment is. Did you know, by the way, that Whoopi's real name is Karen? Kind of fits, doesn't it? All right, we got to play this one because this is just hilarious. Let's go to cut number 3. This is Joe Scarborough talking about, oh my goodness, if the right attacks free speech, then the left, if they're in power, they'll do the same thing. Apparently, Joe was under a rock or, just not alive or just is, again, the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. And Joe Scarborough is example number 1. This is cut 3. Go.
Well, and what some Republicans did seem to understand, Ted Cruz certainly understood it, that yes, right now this is being used against speech that Republicans don't like. But Willie, Republicans aren't going to be in the White House forever. So they understood. Ted Cruz warned about it. Others warned about it. What we're doing to them right now, they will do to us when a Democrat. This is short-sighted. It makes no sense.
There was a government disinformation board under Biden. They censored people. They locked them out of their account. They kicked Donald Trump off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You go down the list. All this didn't happen under Democrats. And now they're mad that Jimmy Kimmel got taken off the air for 3 days. By the way, not by the government, by the affiliates and by Disney, by their own admission. And this is the argument that they're going with. I can't believe he makes that much more money than me. I just can't get my head around. It's hard to have the name Joe these days, guys. I'll just leave it there. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. I am Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. We'll see you again next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. The Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. You can hear the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Sunday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
This Sunday is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Walk Run, and our team is in need of your support. Right now, every dollar counts. The WABC hosts must all rally their loyal audience to participate. Go to WABCRadio.com/walk and help your favorite hosts right here at WABC and support the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Go to WABCRadio.com/walk. Help WABC raise money for the amazing Tunnel to Towers Foundation Walk Run. Go to WABCRadio.com/walk.